henchman and joint collaborator. Let's talk about the Communist Manifesto and what it really espouses and contains. The Communist Manifesto, or originally the Manifesto of the Communist Party, is a political pamphlet written by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, and I would say they were the pen men, but appointed by higher level occultists to put this ideology out into the world and disseminate it. It was commissioned by the Communist League. So realize that this document was commissioned by an organization whose sole purpose it was to spread communism throughout all of Europe, particularly in England. Okay, that's where the Communist League was founded and operated out of London. The Communist Manifesto originally was published in London in 1848. The text is the first and most systematic attempt by Marx and Engels to codify for widespread consumption the core historical materialist idea that, as stated in the text opening words, the history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles. Again, being what they called themselves as atheists and materialists. They framed everything about money and resources only. True philosophy and spirituality were left on the back burner. They were left at the door, never really discussed. This was all about money and resources only. Okay, and they want everybody else to believe those are the only motivating factors of all of human society, in which social classes are defined by the relationship of people to the means of production. Marx and Engels combine materialism with the Hegelian dialectical method to analyze the development of European society through its modes of production, as we already talked about. Marx and Engels assert that capitalism is marked by the exploitation of the working class wage laborers, the proletariat, by the ruling class, the bourgeoisie. The Communist Manifesto asserts that capitalism does not offer humanity the possibility of self-realization and ensures that human beings remain perpetually stunted and alienated. And I wouldn't necessarily even completely disagree with that. Money does that. It has that effect on people, right? But the answer is not to institute complete removal of private property from all human beings into a collectivized form of so-called property that doesn't really exist. The Communist Manifesto theorizes that capitalism will bring about its own destruction and predicts that a revolution will lead to the emergence of a classless communist society. They're going to give all the power to the state over all the means of production and distribution of goods and services. The state's going to have that power, and then they're going to mete out all of those goods and services in a beneficent way, and then they're going to dissolve themselves. That's what giving all that power to the state would naturally do, don't you know? Okay? The text ends with a decisive and famous call for solidarity amongst the proletariat, popularized as the slogan, "Workers of the world, unite. You have nothing to lose but your chains." The Communist Manifesto remains one of the world's most influential political documents, sadly. These are the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto. There are 10 general tenets. It's 10 general tenets, and the implementations of each of these planks in the United States today, and they're all implemented. We are basically living in a communist country already. It's not coming, it's already here, and we've been living in one. The abolition of private property in land, the application of all rents of land to public purpose. This is the property tax and eminent domain. Okay, if you have to pay a tax on so-called property, I have news for you. You don't own the property. Someone else owns it as a feudal lord, and they are renting you the usage of the land through the property tax. And if you don't believe that, you're incorrect. That's the truth of the matter. That's what we have. We have a system of neo-feudalism in America and throughout the world. Number 2, a heavy progressive or graduated income tax. Boy, do we have that. That's the income tax and Internal Revenue Service, the IRS. The abolition of all rights of inheritance. This is known in the United States as the estate tax or the death tax. Inheritance has basically been wiped out. I've just been a victim of this. You know, my former partner who passed, verbally and in writing, said, my property is to pass to you. And because that was not done correctly with the state comes in, says we're swooping in and claiming ownership of her estate and giving it to whoever we deem fit. Forget what she wanted. You know, that's what we have. Confiscation, number 4, plank of the Communist Manifesto. Confiscation of property of all immigrants and rebels. And this is government seizures of property, IRS property confiscation, and the 1997 crime bill. Number 5, the centralization of credit in the hands of the state by means of a central bank with an exclusive monopoly. That is the Federal Reserve System, which all of our money operates according to. So all implemented forms of the communist planks of the Communist Manifesto. Number 6, centralization of the means of communication and transportation in the hands of the state. These manifest through the Department of Transportation, the FAA, and the FCC. Number 7, the extension of state-owned industrial production and central planning in agriculture. This is Executive Order 13575, which allows greater government power over food and energy. And many more bills have come down the pike since this one was passed, which tightened that control even further. Number 8, the enforcement of universal obligation of all to work. Okay, as we're going to talk about in communist countries, the penalties for not working. Establishment of industrial armies, especially for agriculture, literally armies of farmers and agriculturalists. And this is implemented in the United States by taxes, the fact that taxes and inflation have forced dual income families, and in many instances, both partners must work multiple jobs. Plus, there is an implementation of the combination of industry and agriculture. 9, combination of agriculture and manufacturing industries. It's kind of an adjunct to plank 8. And more equitable distribution of the population over the country. We don't really have that last one, okay? So we have the first part of it. This is a questionable implementation in the United States, and there may be a revised plan to implement that, but we do have combination of agriculture and manufacturing through robotics, AI, and coming 15-minute cities, which they want to implement as part of Agenda 2030 and the Great Reset. And number 10, the provision of free universal education or public schooling and the abolition of child factory labor. Obviously, the child factory labor is actually one of the good planks of the manifesto, because we shouldn't be forcing children to work in factories. However, the first one, provision of free universal education, leads to the Department of Education, the public school system, and the outcome-based educational model that we're going to talk about, that is an indoctrination camp for young people in this country and many others. Every plank of the Communist Manifesto has been implemented in the United States in some form or fashion. We are not heading toward a communist government and society. We're already living in one. Let's look at some of the